Let's bring in Gary Lawless now from Vegas, from the Vegas Golden Knights facility. How you doing, Gary?
Good, Rod. How are you?
Very well. Awesome, as a matter of fact. And our viewers have a lot of... Hey?
You guys got your subs mixed up. You're the meatball sub.
Good one. Last time it was A&W. Now this. Gary, the viewers have a lot of questions for you, and I'll get to them. There's some good ones here. I think you'll enjoy them. But
all right.
I know you have some strong thoughts on this CFL-XFL plan collaboration. What are they?
Well, I think it's a shame that it's come to this, but I think that, you know, if we had truth serum from a number of CFL owners, and I would guess it's Montreal, BC, and Toronto, where they lose money all the time, they're probably tired of where the business has been, where it is, and they're looking at where it's going, and they're scratching their heads. 2021, you know, if you started a regular season like you always would, it would be in front of no fans, and I don't know how the CFL can afford that. I just don't think they can. So, like the testing and the protocols that go into that, enormously expensive. I don't think the CFL has the money for that. So maybe a shortened season that starts later on, and all that dependent upon the vaccine and then the rollout, and there's no guarantees there. So I think they're in a really tough spot. And I think probably if I was one of those guys and Dwayne Johnson came along a year ago or 8 months ago, whenever it was, I'm guessing it's, you know, at least 8 months ago when they started talking, he comes along, one of the greatest marketers in the world with one of the greatest brands in the world, and says, let's talk about a collaboration. Your ears would have to be wide open. And I think they have. I don't believe for a second that they are talking about talking. If that was the case, why would you not have engaged the Players Association and said, hey, guys, we're going to talk to these guys. We don't know where it's going to go. You would not surprise them. I think that they didn't talk to the Players Association when they began these conversations, and they're well down the road in these conversations. That's what I believe. Just from everything that you saw yesterday, why would the XFL announce yesterday that they're putting a pause on their 21 season until they're done these conversations with the CFL? That's not about, you're not pausing your season to talk about marketing collaboration. You're pausing your season because you're talking about a full-blown merger and what that would look like and where there is advantages for both sides in that. And, you know, we can debate the logic of a merger, and that will happen as we move forward, I'm sure. But I don't think we should be debating that that's what they're talking about, because that's what they're talking about. That to me is plain as day.
But in a way, we are debating that. And here's the news that I got this morning, insider source, that it's not a merger or a talks with the CFL-XFL. It's the CFL on the rock. The CFL wants to tap into his marketing abilities, everything you said, and his contacts. But they don't want to merge leagues. They want to keep it as the CFL and leverage his contacts to help the CFL. Nothing changes. Not the teams, not the rules, not anything. And I'm thinking that is not going to happen. You may think that's going to happen, but you're going to end up amalgamating leagues. Hey?
I don't know who you're talking to, but I don't believe that to be. I don't believe any of that to be accurate. And a matter of fact, if you had to pin me down and make me guess at what's going to happen in 2022, there will be an 18 team league playing 4-down football with no ratio. And whether or not the Grey Cup is involved or it gets given back to CIS or to rugby, or the CFL guys say, hey, we think it would be cool to have the Grey Cup in this league. What the league is called, I wouldn't know. But that would be my guess, that in 2022, they're going to be, that's what they're striving to. That's what, I have to believe that's what Toronto would want. I know that's what the guys in Montreal want. I don't know why they bought the Alouettes, to be honest with you, because I don't think they want to be part of the CFL. They want to be part of something different. And this is that opportunity. I don't think, and listen, and let's be really clear. and Rod, I know I don't have to explain this to you, but I love the CFL, and I love the CFL the way it is. And I have for a long time. I've got a Grey Cup ring for my time with the Toronto Argonauts. I enjoyed that. You've seen how I live in the United States. I continue to pay attention, to watch, to talk to people up there. I love the CFL. I wish it was viable, but it's not. It's not viable. Toronto hasn't worked. I worked for the Toronto Argonauts in 1996. Didn't work then. Hasn't worked at any of time in that whole period of time. Montreal doesn't work anymore, and they need a stadium. BC doesn't work. They need a stadium. I don't think that playing at where they play now doesn't really work. Calgary needs a stadium. Edmonton is eventually going to need one. Who am I missing? So, it's Ottawa works, but when I say work, like what's the high end? What's the most money the Riders ever made in a year?
Oh,
you tell me. I make 10 million some years.
10 to 15 million, I was going to say.
Yeah. So that's the one operation in Canada where if you're a really rich guy, you look at it and go, okay, I'd be willing to own that. But they're given a stadium, right? Like that's the whole that's the whole thing. The province of Saskatchewan gave them a stadium, and that's not happening anywhere else in Canada. Oh, in Manitoba, they built that stadium, and there's the Blue Bombers are supposed to pay them in years when they make money. Like that deal, no one else is getting that deal in Canada. They're not doing that anywhere else. The two prairie provinces, God love them. They believe it to be a great province. You've got to have, you got to have a symphony hall. You got to have a place where people will watch theater, and you got to have a Canadian Football League stadium. But they don't think that in British Columbia. They don't think that in Quebec, and they don't think that in Ontario.
Gary's from some of the comments here from YouTube. Dr. Hockey says, so I guess a CFL team in Atlantic Canada isn't happening. Don't put any carts ahead of any horses here. Hang on. They are just talking. Trevor Basillo in Winnipeg. I like this plan better than yesterday. Leave the CFL alone. I'll just say this, Gary. My source, you know him. I'll give you his number if you want. I'm trying to be pro CFL as much as I can. I'm with you. I don't think it's going to happen either, what I was told. But this is what they think. Anyways, are you ready to take some questions?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I kind of got to find it here. It says, ask Gary about having some pops with John Ferguson Sr. He said that he couldn't handle Gordie Howe. Was the only guy he couldn't handle. What's that story?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite nights in hockey. It was in 2005, and I was covering the World Juniors up in Grand Forks, the greatest Team Canada ever at that tournament. And the Manitoba Moose were playing in Cleveland. So I jumped on a I think it was Northwest back then, a Northwest flight from Grand Forks to Cleveland, and I might have had to go through Minneapolis, and covered the game. And I wasn't feeling very well, but after the game, I was walking through the lobby of the Sheraton Hotel in downtown Cleveland, and I was just about to the elevator, and I was like, I was getting up at like 4 a.m. to fly back to Grand Forks to cover another game for Team Canada. And I can't wait to get into bed and get 3 or 4 hours of shut-eye before I have to get up. And there's a voice, hey, Gare. And I look over, and it's Randy Carlyle and John Ferguson Sr. sitting at the bar, and Fergie takes that big paw of his and goes like this, come on over. And you don't say no to John You didn't say no to John Ferguson Sr., and I wouldn't say no to Junior either. He's a really good friend of mine. So I went over and I sat at the bar with them, and we had a whole bunch of fun. And at one point in time, I was calling him Mr. Ferguson, and then after a few pops, he was Fergie. And I said to him, Carlisle was mad at me about something, and Fergie was elbowing me under the table, keep going, keep needling him. And actually, Mel Engelstad, a good Saskatchewan boy, his name came up in the conversation. And then finally I said, so Fergie, who had your number? And he looked at me, and Fergie goes, first of all, it was Mr. Ferguson a while ago. Now it's Fergie, right? And then he goes, who had my number? Nobody had my number. And I went, oh, okay. All right. Okay. And about 5 minutes later, he looked at me. He goes, all right, I'll tell you this much. After a while, I stopped asking Gordy. And that was his way of saying he didn't want to. He'd had enough of Gordy Allen's fists. He didn't want any more, so he stopped asking him to fight.
Yeah, he couldn't beat him. From some of the viewers, Jeff Cabillas, great to see you on Winnipeg Sports Talk the other day. You and Huss, always a hoot. Jamie in Halifax says the CFL in Halifax has the right team on board. If you're not optimistic, then you're not a football fan living in Halifax. Football here is huge. Donald Mitchell, a Navy man watching in the Middle East, says Americans will not watch another 4-down league. You have to give them something new. Ryan Baracco says if it adds business in any way, it's worth the talk with the XFL. So those are some of the viewers' comments on that, and we'll get to more later. On the Golden Knights, lost 2 in a row, Gary.
Just before I leave the CFL, I will tell you what I would do if I was the commissioner. I would go to the Canadian government and I would find a way to turn the CFL basically into horse racing, where people could go to the games. It's the secret to the NFL is wagering, right? You know, I go to an NFL game. I don't know who any of the players are. So I take $20. I put, $5 on a team to win. I put a few bucks on, the over/under. Maybe on I may place a bet on whether or not there's going to be a defensive interception with a touchdown, whatever. Like a small wager, and it keeps me riveted for the whole game. And that to me is that's going to be part of the plan with the XFL. I'm sure, because people gamble on the NFL from September to February, and there's a gap where the people in Alabama, if they have a few shekels on the game, will watch Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. If it's just Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, I don't see them having as much interest. So I would definitely figure out how I could link that part of the game. It's the future. It's going to happen, right? Like the NHL has all kinds of. They have deals with MGM. They have deals with William Hill. Every sport is going this way. Canada, it's a guy from Saskatchewan, isn't it? Isn't it a member of Parliament from Saskatchewan who's pushing?
Michael Cram. Yeah. Michael, conservative guy. From here. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I think the first reading was successful. Like it's going to be single game wagering is going to be legal in Canada very soon, and to me that's going to be part of the CFL's future. So figure out a way to be ahead of the tide and not behind it.
Listen, for us long-suffering Golden Knights fans, we have 60 seconds. I got 2 questions. How much is it going to hurt having Alex Pietrangelo out and Robin Leonard's going to Henderson? Reconditioning stint, is he going to take over the crease in the big club when he's ready to go?
He's not going to take over the crease. That's going to be Marc-Andre Fleury right now is the best goalie in the NHL. So that'll work itself out. I think we're better when we have both of those guys going up and running, and that will happen hopefully sooner rather than later. And take Alex Pietrangelo out of Team Canada's lineup, and it hurts. So it's going to hurt Vegas for sure.
Gary, appreciate the time, my man. Enjoy the hockey. Always good. Thanks for keeping in touch.
All right. Take care, Roddy.
Vegas Golden Knights insider Gary Lawless. And hey, you watch those Golden Knights games, second intermission, Lawless in order. It's fantastic.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.